Hey guys, this is Gaijin Hunter. In my last video I talked about the fundamental game structure of Monster Hunter World versus the older games and why I preferred the latter. However, let's not fool ourselves. Some of the mechanics in Monster Hunter World are so good that we'd be fine just to erase the old way from the history books altogether. In this video I want to briefly cover some of the quality of life changes in Monster Hunter World that I would kick a wall if they did not include in all future games. Instead of just listing all the quality of life changes because there's so many and some I like and some I don't, here are the 10 that I think everyone can agree that we never want to see go away. First up, backwards evade. This does not sound like a major thing and you wouldn't know it if you didn't play the older Monster Hunter games, but you'll notice it right away. Now of course this doesn't apply to every weapon, but in general after you attack you can evade to the left, you can evade to the right, and in general you can evade forward as well. If you try to evade behind yourself, you generally go to the left because they never offered it as an option. Now let's look at Monster Hunter World. Not only are the animations far better, you got the left, evade to the right, and of course evade forward, but as you guessed it, you can now evade backwards, and I cannot overstate what a huge difference this makes, not only for the fluidity of combat, but also strategy as well and being able to space yourself. Once you get used to it, it makes it very hard to go back. I can't tell you how many times I've died because of it. And you're looking at it right now, but the next one is the training area itself. Past games never had anything like this. Here you can hit stuff, you can see damage if you want to, you can try out new things, see all the different moves you can do. That never existed in the previous games, and people quite literally could have gone hundreds of hours without realizing there were certain moves of that weapon that they never used because they didn't know they existed. This quite literally is the training room of previous games, which is just sitting out at camp during a quest and hitting the air and experimenting. I mean, I love the fact that we all had fun with weapon tutorials and teaching each other how to play the weapon, but let's face it, training area is awesome and I never want to see it go away. Moving on, we have just generally moving around the maps. This is something that really bothers me with the older games and I love about Monster Hunter World. Let's take the volcano map, which is a second generation map, which we generally think of as the worst culprit. But let's say I'm here in base camp and I want to go to area 6 where the boss is. It takes 90 seconds to run up there, and that's ignoring the fact that you have to worry about your stamina and stuff like that. If you die while you're having a boss fight up here, it will take you 90 seconds to get back into the hunt and help your fellow hunters. That's horrible. Some of us, self-included for a period of time, like to romanticize the fourth generations of games and say that the new maps were much better. They weren't as crude or wide as the older ones, but that actually really isn't that true. Here is a map from Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, which is a fantastic game. Let's go from a base camp down to area 9, which is where you might fight something like Gravios. It takes you 60 seconds to run down there, and that's using all the different shortcuts. Plus, if you notice all that elevation I was using, it makes it worse when you want to go back to camp and you don't have a Farcaster item, which of course you can only have one of, unless you bring combined materials. It takes almost 2 minutes to get all the way back to base camp. Now, there's quests where you have to go back to base camp to deliver an item and stuff like that, or let's say the monster moves up to a higher area. Climbing up those walls takes a lot of time. In Monster Hunter World, if you want to move around, you literally just open your map, find a sort of hot spot camp, and let's see, 1, 100, 2, 100, 3, 1, okay, we're already back. That type of fast travel is fantastic, and running around the map, there's no strategy or challenge in doing that. Item gathering. Now this is something that the Prowler mode, I think in Generations Ultimate, really helped sort of pave the ground for World because of its improvements, but in general, collecting items was horrific. So let's say you got up to the top of the volcano, you wanted to mine the ore. Nope, you don't have a pickaxe. So you only have limited space in your item pouch and they're forcing you to carry these consumable items so that you can just simply gather materials. And this does not just only apply to ores, it also applies to stuff like bugs as well. If you don't have a bug net item, you can't gather, which is dumb. And so let's say you do come back with them. Not only is it one by one, it takes a long time to collect, but these bug nets and stuff also randomly break, which means you have to bring a bunch of them so that you don't run out when you're trying to go on gathering quests. And because you have to carry all these items like pickaxes and bug nets, you often find that your item box is just simply full. So then you get into situations like this, which is super annoying, where you're trying to mine an area for items, but you have to swap or discard stuff and you're getting attacked by small monsters all at the same time. Not a fun time. If we go over to Monster Hunter World, it's awesome. You can see where all the mining spots are. Just go up and you can just press a button and it's almost instantaneous. Again, there was no challenge or strategy in bringing items and managing your item pouch just to collect stuff. Next up on my list is locating monsters. Oh man, just thinking about this is kind of upsetting. In older games, let's say I was running around this map for over 5 minutes, right? Taking footage for gathering and stuff like that. Did you know that there was a large monster in this map? That's right, up in Area 6, you wouldn't have known it, and I never ran into it until now, but there is a large monster. Imagine this is the quest and you have to find the monster. If you don't know where that thing generally spawns, you could be running around looking for it for minutes. And you have to hit it with a paintball so that you and the other players can actually see that it exists and where it is on the map, and that thing does wear off. In Monster Hunter World, as long as you have the scouts leveled up, all you have to do is collect a track or two, and boom, this thing is on your map. You can see where it is in real time. Again, there's no strategy or achievement in being able to track a monster. It's literally just trying to overcome the system and the dumb paintball system. Gathering quests. Now, if you're new and you've only played Monster Hunter World, you probably don't even know that these existed, and that's for the better, trust me. Old games had these gathering quests, and sometimes they were actually required in order to progress. Deliver 20 unique mushrooms. So you're running around a massively huge map, collecting mushrooms, waiting for a random rare drop of a unique mushroom. You have to do this 20 times, go all the way back to camp and deliver it. It's not fun at all. I don't mind if it's there as an option because it helps you learn the maps and you might get some rewards, but really having gathering quests like in the middle of a required list was just horrific, and it turned a lot of people off in the early parts of the game. Item upgrade trees. This is another thing. If you're coming from World, this is going to shock you, but let's take the older games, right? We see this awesome Reaver. Oh wow, like what does this thing evolve into? Is there any other upgrade paths that lead into another weapon? You wouldn't know. You literally would have to buy the weapon, then go into the upgrade to see what the next one might be, and you only see the next step from it. You don't know the paths, the trees, or anything. Monster Hunter World, this is fantastic. You go in here, you select tree, you can see everything. You can see where you're going, what items you need, what the possibilities are. If they ever go back on this, I will be really upset because it's implemented so well. Literally, people spent hundreds of hours creating Wikipedias in order to do this, and now it's finally in the game. Gunner and Blademaster armor. Now, one of the reasons why people generally, a gunner wouldn't try Blademaster and Blademasters wouldn't try gunner is because you got stuff like this. You got this set from Soulseer. It's got 2 points in bubble, one for Soulseer, one for nimbleness. This one is identical, so why do you have to make 2 of them? Well, that's because there's different armor for Blademaster and Gunner in previous games. The one thing it did have, which I guess is the alpha beta idea, is that the designs for Gunner and the designs for Blademaster were different, and I think that was a cool system, and I would like to see it integrated a little bit more into something like Monster Hunter World, but literally being forced to create the same outfit twice just because you want to change your weapon was really not kind. One of the reasons I like the previous classic Monster Hunter structure is because I like to plan out my goals for creating armor in sets. One thing those older games could have really used was the preview system for Monster Hunter World. Not only could you simulate and see what a set would look like, the final sort of composition of skills, but you could also aesthetically see what it would look like. And for a fashion hunter, being able to see what things might look like, that would have been really cool of a feature to have in previous games. Sharpness Indicator. Now I realize a lot of players don't realize how important sharpness really is when it comes to damage output, but it is one of the most important things in the game to keep track of. Take this weapon right here. I know because I play a lot of Monster Hunter that is 10 units of blue sharpness, which means that after I do 10 hits, it will go down to green sharpness, which is a huge decrease in damage. So I really want to keep track of that and make sure that I sharpen at the right time. Let's go ahead and count it out with our favorite kitty cat Narga, which is definitely going to be back in Iceborne, so look forward to it. Man, I'm really rusty. I should have been able to evade that. So we have 3 hits on it. Here we go. We get 4, 5, 6, 7, 2 more, 8, 9. Now look at my sharpness bar. Would you be able to tell that I'm only 1 hit from being able to drop from blue to green? No, it looks completely full. It looks like I'm going to have blue forever, but if I do 1 more hit, watch what happens. Green. Why they didn't allow us to see this more visually, I don't know. Maybe because it was a smaller screen and they thought it was, not necessary, but check out the sharpness in Monster Hunter World. With every hit, that indicator goes down, and it's visually so easy to understand when your sharpness goes down a level. And of course, because you have the damage numbers optionally on, you even know that you're doing less damage, which was cool. And when you need to sharpen your weapon, you didn't have to worry about having a whetstone in your inventory because they give you an infinite amount in Monster Hunter World, so that was pretty cool as well. Anyways, I know I just made a video talking about how I like the general game structure of classic Monster Hunter more than the more accessible version of Monster Hunter World, but these are definitely some of the top changes that I would love to see them put in any single Monster Hunter game going forward. Let me know down in the comments below, what are some of the quality of life changes that you feel are groundbreaking and really good and something that we simply cannot go back to. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until next time, happy hunting.